I'm guessing we're live. My name is Charles Sterling. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're coming from. It's kind of nice. I think I'm talking to Sam in West Coast, right? You said you're flying back to the East Coast, so I'm assuming that you're over here.
Yeah, we out here in San Francisco.
Yeah, and my relationship with you guys actually started with Amanda Kofsky. So Amanda, if you're listening, thank you very much for introducing us. She said, "Hey, these are great guys, active in the community, doing some really cool stuff with visuals for Power BI," and I reached out to them, and I think our first interaction was either in Dublin. Actually, it may have been a customer webinar. I actually run in customer engagement programs where they wanted to see some new visuals, and they said that your visual is one of the most exciting they'd seen in a while. And then we hung out and did some drinking, adult beverages in Dublin with Matt and Ryan. So I see that Ryan's on the call. Thank you very much for joining us. And I think what you're going to do is, for the public, you're going to go out and say, who's Mapbox, how to get started, how to play with some of your stuff, and some of the things that you guys have done since I seen you in Dublin. Does that sound about right, Sam?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and turn off your camera unless we need to keep seeing you throughout. Start your screen sharing, and once I can see your screen, I'm going to have you introduce yourself, and then of course Mapbox, and I'm going to turn off my screen as well. Okay, it looks great. So I'm going to turn off my camera, and Sam, the microphone is yours. I'm even going to mute myself.
Okay. Hey, everyone. Welcome to this webcast, and thanks for watching. As introduced, my name is Sam Garrett. I'm a solutions engineer over here at Mapbox. I'm currently heading up our Mapbox plugin with Power BI, and that's what we're going to be focusing on in today's webinar. I'm super excited to talk about how Mapbox and Power BI can be leveraged for next generation data and location analysis. So me personally, I've been working in BI for about 7 years now. I've been out there creating a lot of dashboards for pretty much any use case that you can think of. And these dashboards really had one thing in common, and that was most of them used mapping visualizations. I've seen a lot of problems with traditional mapping visualizations which are out there: performance problems, customization problems, multi-layering problems. And today we're going to walk through our Mapbox visualization for Power BI and how we are going to solve these problems for you. So taking a step back, maps are easily becoming the most important type of data visualization that are out there.
Hey, Sam, I'm going to interrupt you.
Sure.
While I am actually seeing your sharing, they are not. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to get you to stop sharing your screen and reshare it. Yeah, it's working fine for me, but that's not what they're saying.
Okay.
So Augusto Cesar Chavez, thank you very much. So now we're actually getting the little icon. That's good. And now let's go ahead and reshare. We're going to give it about 15 seconds, and we're going to see if that works. If not, I'm going to have you. Oh, I know why. Hang on a second. No. We can see it in the corner. Oh, so what was happening is it had been locked to Ryan. I think that's fixed. There we go. So we've been looking at Ryan's gorgeous face in that, what is it, Tahoe, it looks like. So why don't you go ahead and keep going, because we heard you, we just didn't see the slides.
There wasn't a lot of content yet, so we didn't miss much.
Okay, go ahead.
Cool. So maps are easily becoming the most important and powerful data visualization that are available for BI developers. And let's take a quick step back and talk about what kind of data companies are creating. If you think about the proliferation of mobile devices, IoT transponders, the Internet of Things, and the type of data that's being created, it's mostly location data. People want to know where they are, what's around them. And to do that, these devices need access to location services and location data, latitude and longitude data. And what do you think is the most and the best visualization to produce meaning from this location data? Well, it's maps. You can visualize millions of location points on a single map. And that's where Mapbox and Power BI are really a match made in heaven. Okay. So
you don't want to say that 5 times fast.
For those of you who don't know Mapbox, we are a map provider who provide the Legos and the building blocks for map to create compelling, beautiful, sexy maps to not only visualize data but for a variety of other use cases as well. Mapbox is a platform traditionally used by developers, but that's not really the case anymore, as you'll see in a second. But our building blocks are really divided into three main categories. The first one are maps. Obviously, this is the actual map image that you see, gives you the baseline for all the data that can be overlaid on top. And this is the primary function and use case for the Power BI plugin. We also provide a search feature. This is definitely useful for things like data preparation in the form of geocoding and reverse geocoding. So if you have any data that you have lat long and you need to return addresses, or you have addresses and you need to return the lat long, that's where our search and geocoder comes into play. We also have a navigation API if you're interested in how to get from point A to B, and up to I think 20 places in between. We provide a logistics API for how to get around. So that's a little bit about what Mapbox is. Even if you hadn't heard of us before, I'm sure you've interacted with us and our services in some way, shape, or form before. So if you've ever used the weather app on your phone, that's powered by the weather company, and that underlying that, a huge portion of that is Mapbox. If you want to see if it's going to rain today, the weather company is using our geocoding to figure out where you are and to provide you the most relevant weather data, and they're using our beautiful mapping functionality to show that radar picture there. If you're ever on the New York Times website checking out live election results and interacting with those maps on the website, this is showing the state of Virginia, but Mapbox is providing that mapping and data visualization interactivity as well. And I'm sure you guys have all heard of Snapchat, or maybe your kids are using Snapchat, but we are powering the Snap Maps feature behind that. It's a heat map to show where people are posting content from, where your friends are. You can tap on a location and it will cycle through some content from that area. So those three definitely you've probably touched in some way, shape, or form. And then lastly, an example is the Federal Communication Commission. They've created relative broadband speeds in over 11 million census blocks. This particular visualization has over 68 million data points on it, still rendering very quickly. So this just goes to speak, how Mapbox and data coming together can really provide some good feedback and decision making for your end users. Which brings us to the meat and the purpose of this presentation. We have packaged up those three building blocks and functionality and provided an easy-to-use custom visualization for Power BI. It's super cool, super easy to use, available on the marketplace. You go to the marketplace, search for Mapbox, add it to your visualization, and you are ready to go. Mapbox, I guess, traditionally has been used for developers, but this custom visualization really brings the power of Mapbox in the hands of any business intelligence analyst or developer. No engineering experience required. And let's see what that looks like. So in this presentation, I want to focus on 6 things to do with the Mapbox custom visualization inside Power BI. These 6 things, I think, really set us apart from the competition. You might be thinking, why already use a mapping service like Esri or something else? Why do I want to use Mapbox instead of that? Well, these 6 things will really set us apart. Big location, super customization. We're going to dive into each one of these 6 things and go through some examples. And hopefully by the end of this presentation, we'll tie it all together, show you how you can get started, and hoping to drive some adoption and functionality from our custom visual. So first, rendering massive location data quickly. I think this, in my experience developing dashboards, has been one of the main problems that I've experienced is that when you add a lot of location to your map, it becomes slow and laggy, and that is not what you want in a an analyst for a BI dashboard to experience. So, as I mentioned before, the FCC was rendering 68 million data points on our map, an incredible amount of data, and still maintaining the smoothness, panning, pitching, um, even though all of that data is loaded onto the map. So in Power BI, we are probably the most performant map out there. Power BI is still limiting us to about 30,000 data points, but we've been pushing the limits of that. We've been working with our developers to find new and creative ways to load more data on the map, and still the performance of the map is fantastic. Even though we're loading these thousands of data points on the map, I just did want to make a note that all of your data is staying in Power BI, and we're not the Power BI data model is not sent to Mapbox. So I just want to let you know that as an aside, we're not checking out your data. That data is all private to you. Number two, and I think this is really important as a BI developer to be able to provide these multiple layers in one map, is the context that it's allowing you to show to the users based on zoom level. So in this example here, we're looking at, I think, cyclist injuries in Manhattan. And when you're at a really high level, the individual data points don't really, and by high level, I mean a high zoom level, the individual data points really don't matter to you that much. When you're looking at BI dashboards from a high level, you really want to see trends, density levels, really data that's telling more of an overall story. And something like point data isn't going to be useful to you. But as users are zooming down into the actual low level zoom, they're going to want to see individual points and be able to hover over those points, see the tooltips from those points. And Mapbox really allows you to do this quickly and easily by visualizing multiple layers on the same map. So we provide a really easy to use user interface within Power BI where you can set the minimum and maximum zoom levels for multiple layers. And as users are diving into the zoom level, there's a seamless transition from, in this case, from a heat map to a circle layer. And that is really how you're going to provide your users with the most relevant context at the zoom level that they're at. So very cool, very easy to use, highly recommended. Another problem that I've run into as a BI developer in maps is the inability to customize maps. Maps are super important to be able to customize because depending on where you are in the world, what your use case is, you're going to want to tailor that map experience to your audience. So Mapbox is the premier mapping platform out there that will allow you to tailor and customize your map at every level. So, within Power BI, we're offering 8 out-of-the-box styles for you right there. Things like streets, satellite maps, terrain, a dark and a light view. We have that all right there, easy to select in a drop-down. We also have an extremely powerful tool in Mapbox Studio. It's basically a Photoshop for maps. You can create any style you want. You can draw shapes, prioritize layers, bring things like data labels, waterways to the top, or depromote them to the bottom to allow really a customized experience for your users. You can also add in custom polygons from shape files and KML files, as well as reference data sets as well. So you can see in this example here, when we're visualizing something like the steepest commutes in San Francisco, when compared with pedestrian volume, something like elevation contour and terrain in the map, you can imagine would be useful for your end users. So, we provide that in a style so you can see, some of the most, the least traveled routes, the commute routes kind of vary by elevation. I walk to work in San Francisco every day, and I'm definitely avoiding the steepest hills there. And I think these visualizations, the contour visualization adds a nice context to that. This is a brand new feature that we're offering, is drilling into choropleth layers, also known as fill layers on the map. I know choropleth is kind of a weird, scary word. So they're fill layers. And what they are is, polygons overlaid on a map and colored by data points. So within Power BI and Mapbox, you can actually add multiple polygon layers to your map. We have both out of the box boundary layers like states and countries, which are available in Power BI. And you can also create your own. And the really cool thing is being able to drill between these layers to see more detailed information. So whereas before, as you get more detailed from heat map to circle layer, in the choropleth layers, you can go from hierarchical levels like states down to counties. And in this example, we're looking at wildfire data. So you can see right off the bat, California, Montana, some of the worst hit states by wildfires. I think this data is from 2015 or 2016, so it's not taking into account the horrible season that we had last year. But you can see how easy it is to pick a state, drill into the county, drill into the exact wildfire.
Hey, Sam, can I interrupt real quick?
Yeah.
Viviana has a question. Viviana Maglianis, and I apologize if I've gotten the name wrong. She'd like to know, how are you doing the shape fill for the states? The saturation on the dots, I think, makes sense. But she's curious, how are you doing the shape fill?
So the shape fill is, how the shape fills are colored, or they're being colored on how many acres were burned within the state. So, California and Nevada and Montana had the most acres burned by wildfire, and that's why they're dark red. Washington and Oregon were somewhere in between. That's why they're orange and yellow. And then the rest of the states are a little bit of a lighter green, which indicates that they had less acres burned when compared with the other states.
Oh, so it's automatic just because you reference it as a state. Okay, makes sense.
Right.
Viviana, I hope that helps.
And the key here is that when you are using your Power BI data, it should have an attribute which matches some of the metadata in our boundary layer. So, for example, with states, you would have a row attribute in your data layer which said California or Utah or something with a metric associated with it, and then you would join your data to our boundary level based on that attribute.
That makes sense.
So
Rick was wondering, does it also work for Europe?
It does. We have enterprise boundary level data for 200 countries out there, including Europe. So it's not just the US. We definitely have country level data for Europe. And then out of the box in Power BI, and I'll touch on this a little bit more in depth later. There's in the drop down, you'll see for US states, countries, and US postal codes. But we have other boundary data sets that we can provide to you. You just have to contact us to get, and that would be more of fine-grained European data, for example.
Gotcha. One last question, and then I'll try and stop bothering you. Augusto Cesar Chavez, who was actually helping us earlier, was asking, what's the performance like? And I know why he's asking, because he's actually been playing with our shape map, not yours.
I mean, I think the performance is phenomenal.
Yeah, I've been using your stuff, and it's far faster than ours.
The way that we're loading these images in are through vector tiles. And these vector tiles are constructed in a way for optimal data transmission. So basically, the map is getting a whole bunch of little vector tiles, and on the client side, they're being stitched together. And the way that the vector tiles are constructed makes it super easy and performant to transmit that data, over the internet and into your BI client. Does that make sense?
It certainly does, and it looks like we've depleted the questions, and Ryan's answering the rest online. So yeah, thank you very much for that.
Cool. So that's number 4. Number 5 is, maybe not as a big of a feature as the other ones that I've talked about, but definitely a very powerful feature, and that is lasso selecting points on a map. It's basically, you can freehand click and draw and circle points on the map, and it doesn't have to be just choropleth layers. Like in this states example here, might not be the best example, but if you have like a lot of points on a map or clusters on a map, you can wrangle those with your lasso selector, and it will actually drive the other visualizations on the map, which we'll talk about when we put all this stuff together. But the lasso select thing is very cool and powerful in my opinion. And then this is brand new for us and an amazing feature for maybe some of you more security conscious or regulated BI environments out there, is we are allowing you to bring your entire mapping service completely on-premise in the form of it's called Atlas Server for us. It's basically Mapbox in a box running on your local environment. We have an install that you can set up in about 20 minutes, running in a Docker container, perfect for air gaps environments, governments, financial institutions, a standardized integration with Power BI, and it's working with your on-premise Power BI report server. All you have to do is plug in your Mapbox API URL, which is basically the endpoint of your Atlas server. And then you get all the neat things that I showed you before: lasso select, custom polygons, etc. All baked into your on-premise environment. I think this is another feature which is really setting us apart from the competition. Again, if you're interested in this, reach out to me, reach out to Mapbox, and we can definitely get you started. Okay, so what would something, those 6 features that I mentioned before look like all stitched together? Well, in this example, we're looking at the state of New Jersey. We're looking at that same data set from the FCC in terms of broadband speeds by region. So, let's start out from a high level. You're moving to New Jersey. I'm from New Jersey, so I have a little bit of affinity for there. I know it might get a little bit of a bad rap, but New Jersey holds a special place in my heart. You're moving to New Jersey. You want to know which county to move to, which has the best internet speed. So, bam, you're seeing that from the high level. Okay, I'm moving to Monmouth County, New Jersey. Let's dig into where the internet speeds are more of a finely grained level. So I'm going to drill into this is census tract level data, which is in the census hierarchy. And then we can, the colors will update based on that. And then, okay, we can zoom into another level, which is the actual census block group level. And then we can run the lasso select on those block groups, and that will update the visualization on the right. So, you can see in that lasso select area, it goes down to, you have an option between 5 different providers. I think it's, Verizon, Comcast, CSE holding companies, and you can see that Verizon is offering the best broadband speed in that area. So putting it all together, you can really get some useful data visualizations from that can drive actionable decision making. Very cool. Okay. I did, I think you guys asked some questions on custom polygons. And I wanted to dig a little bit more into that and show you how you can get up and running with, those boundary layers. So let's deep dive into that for a few minutes. Everyone knows about the Hollywood sign, but there's this new sign that went up in San Francisco. Wanted to show you guys that. If you drill into the map layer, you can see, oh, bam, there's a Mapbox sign that went up. And you know, from the 90s, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Whoa, pretty cool. This was developed with custom polygons in our Mapbox Studio product. You can see that that was kind of a silly example, but you can see the power of it. Most companies' use cases are going to be a little bit more customized than using maybe a state or a county level. You have custom sales territories. For account planning in agriculture, you're going to have custom farm boundaries or agricultural regions. Mapbox really provides you the flexibility to design your own polygon regions, and whether you're creating those yourself or whether you're using an open source data collection from the internet, Mapbox makes it really easy to visualize that data inside of Power BI. So I touched on this a little bit before, but in the Mapbox plugin on Power BI, we have 3 standardized boundaries that you can use in countries of the world, US states, and US postal codes. And as the question I got before, we do have European coverage, over 200 countries of the world. We have administrative, postal, and statistical boundaries. For a lot of those, you will have to contact Mapbox to get access to them, but we make it very easy to plug and play. You can also use any open source boundary information out there. Some of my personal favorite is the Tiger and the shape files through the census. They also provide things like metropolitan areas. We have an easy way to translate those into vector layers to import into your Power BI dashboard. And then lastly, as you saw in the example before, you can create your own polygons, whether you're spelling out the word Mapbox in San Francisco, or whether you have an actual use case like sales territory planning or farm and agricultural planning. You can create your own polygons to do that. I wanted to touch on how those examples were possible in the Power BI Mapbox plugin. So the included boundaries is obviously the easiest to do. We have, you select a choropleth layer. We have that drop down level for the data, and then you select which boundaries you want to use. So you can see global countries, US states, and postal codes we provide to you right there in the dropdown. As I mentioned before, to make it work in your Power BI data model, you'll just need an attribute which matches to one or two, in the case of drilling, to multiple layers. So, for example, I would have row level data on states, and I'd have like a state attribute associated with those rows, like California, and then Power BI and Mapbox will do all the matching. We'll do the data aggregation for you, and then you can color and style your map however you want. For open source or custom boundaries, you'll have to go into Mapbox Studio and upload your information there. We accept a variety of different sources and MB tile files, KML files, GPX, GeoJSON, zip shape files, even CSV files. So if you have a shape file or some polygon information, you can upload that into Mapbox Studio /tile sets, and then we will basically output a URL for you and a couple other parameters which you can plug into Power BI right in the GUID right there, and we will load those custom polygons for you onto your Power BI visualization. Very cool, very cool. And then lastly, if you want to draw your own polygons, we have a tool for that in Mapbox Studio datasets, where you can go in and draw all the custom sales regions and silly polygon information if you want to, that you want. So very cool, very powerful, very easy to use. Please use it. And that's, what's coming next? Okay, so we are constantly making updates and developments to this plugin. We have a GitHub repo which we'll share with you later, but I'm constantly checking those for feedback and for feature requests. We also, here's a sneak peek of what's coming next. We're going to release a choropleth 3D extrusions. This particular example was created by one of our partners, Lovelytics. And the great thing about the way that the plugin environment is set up with Microsoft is that the plugin is extremely straightforward to customize in case some of the functionality in your plugin isn't meeting quite the requirements that you have. So we have a great partner ecosystem. If you're using the plugin and there's something that you don't see, you can obviously make a feature request through the GitHub repo, and we can put you in contact with a partner such as Lovelytics, who can develop some of the more customized solutions for you. But we should be integrating this choropleth 3D extrusions map in our next release, and that will allow you to take those choropleth and fill visualizations and add another dimension to them to get even more context from your data. So you're probably wondering how you can start building these types of things. So first of all, the visualization is available on the Office store. It's pretty straightforward. There's those in the visualization panel. There's those 3 dots. You click there and import a visualization from the marketplace. Search for Mapbox. We are on there. Add us. And then you'll also need a Mapbox account to get started as well. You can go to mapbox.com/signup to create this account. It is completely free to use, up to 50,000 requests per month. So for a typical developer or development environment, this is more than enough. And then once you exceed that, you'll have to go through an upgrade account, an account upgrade process. And then we do have a lot of tutorials and documentation on the interwebs. So there's a Power BI tutorial here. We just released a new tutorial which focuses on the choropleth fill layers, which makes it very easy to get up and running with that. And then some of our other partners, Blue Granite and Pragmatic Works, have also put together some very helpful tutorials as well. And lastly, we want you guys to share what you make. We love seeing how you guys are using the Mapbox visualization, getting feedback, new creative things that you're doing with it, customizations that you've made to it. So definitely share what you make at Mapbox, hashtag Mapbox for Power BI on Twitter or Instagram, and we're definitely taking a look at those as well. And that's a great feedback channel for us. A couple other housekeeping items and FAQ. You can submit feature requests and bug reports on our GitHub repo. This repo is also open source, so you can go in and check the code that's underlying the visualization. You can check out your own. You can clone down the branch, and if you're a developer, you can go in there and make any tweaks and alterations that you want. This is where we're tracking all our feature requests and bug reports. So I am monitoring that daily, and I do interact with a lot of the community through the GitHub repo as well. So definitely tag me in your feature requests and enhancements, and I'll be sure to respond to you. We did release a new version earlier this week, which includes things like the choropleth maps and the lasso functionality. So if you were using an older version of them on the marketplace, be sure to check us out for our latest release. The GitHub repo also has an up-to-date beta version on it, so you can get sneak peek access to our newer features, which are going to be released on the marketplace. But if you want to get a little head start on it, feel free to check out our beta version, and that will be on the GitHub account. So that's it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and you guys got some tips and tricks and best practices for Mapbox and Power BI. And us here at Mapbox, we're really excited to get your feedback, incorporate that into the product, and to continue this plugin together. So thanks, guys.
I guess it would help if I actually unmuted myself when I stopped talking. Hey, Sam, thank you very much for doing that. And again, like I said, yeah, a lot of our top customers have actually been using you guys due to the performance and the features, and I appreciate you coming out and showing us what's new. Ryan said that you guys just checked in support for Safari today, so
Yeah.
another new feature that you may have actually not mentioned, or if you mentioned, I apologize. I also put the links in the chat window for our MVPs, David, who actually did a tutorial on this, and Devin, another one of our MVPs from Pragmatic Works, and the ones that you mentioned. So those are in the chat window. Other than that, I'm going to see you on Monday, my friend, and I'm looking forward to actually looking at you at the theater session where we can actually go out and play a little bit. So
yeah, we'll be at the application summit next week, so definitely come talk to us, talk to me. You know, happy to provide any more information there.
So Augusto, he did answer that. If you just rewinded the video, you'll actually be able to see that. He has actually about needing a separate license for some of those features. Otherwise, Sam, I'm going to give it back to you to close, and then as soon as you say goodbye, I'll actually stop the broadcast.
Cool. Well, I just want to say thanks one more time. You know, we really value all of your guys' feedback. You know, the most important thing to us is making our customers and end users happy. So definitely shoot your feedback to us. Come find us at the Business Application Summit in Seattle next week if you're there. Happy to talk to you. Happy to help out any way we can. And thanks a lot. I enjoyed it.